Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and you are watching another episode of Sports Minute tonight. I am joined by my co-host for the evening. We have Big B in the house. Big B, how are you doing tonight, my man?
Doing okay, just catching up on the sports day, so ready to talk with you guys. Like the topics you sent out, Ace, so it'll be good to get some good opinions.
All right, and then, of course, we have Mr. Crispy Bacon. How are you doing tonight, my man?
Doing good, yeah, another crazy sports day. Here to talk about it.
All right, and then Mr. James Gonzalez. James, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I just got finished, or what was it, about 45 hour ago, watching the ALCS, in which the Rangers lost, and it's a 2-1 series, Texas still, but Astros are coming and are alive, it seems.
Yeah, they are. They are coming and they are alive. I think the Diamondbacks are dead. But other than that, before we get started, I do want to throw a congratulations out to the Las Vegas Aces for winning the WNBA championship tonight. I don't think that people are going to mention enough about it. This is the first time since the 2001 and 2002 season that a WNBA team has won consecutive WNBA championships.
LA Sparks.
So congratulations to the Aces. And I'll tell you, it was actually a good game. I don't know if anybody else got to watch it, but at the very beginning I was concerned because the Liberty came out hot. Like, they came out hot and they took a pretty good lead. And I was like, okay, all right, the Liberty might take this another game, but the Aces battled back, and at the very end, the Liberty could not score at the very end. They had two chances at the end, and they couldn't do it. They ended up making a layup after time expired to try and win it, but that's all right. But it was a great game, so good job. All right, and Jason saying, Ace, it must be nice for you to have a basketball team that wins game. Absolutely, because J-Mac knows I am an Aces fan, so I'm glad that the Aces won tonight because I'm not used to my basketball teams like the Pistons. I'm not used to my teams winning in the NBA, so this is actually good. It feels good to have a championship. It feels great. Anyway, going into our first topic of the night, it's an interesting one. Travis Hunter, and we know Travis Hunter. He plays for the Buffs. He plays for Colorado. There was an NFL scout that came out that basically said, hey, if Travis Hunter wants to be successful in the NFL, if he wants to be a successful player, he's going to have to focus on one position, because we know in college, he plays receiver and then he plays corner. Well, he went off. In the previous game, he had 11 catches, and I think it was like 200 and some yards. But then on the defensive side of the ball, he allowed 11 receptions for like 150 some yards. So in the end, it's kind of that mix to where you're like, okay, he had a great game offensively, but defensively, he was terrible. I mean, absolutely terrible. So when these NFL scouts are coming out saying, hey, he's got to choose one or the other, or this could potentially hurt his career. Big B, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts? Like, do you agree with this scout saying, hey, he should choose one or the other? Or do you think him being able to play multiple positions is going to actually help him?
When it comes to football, I think it's tough to be that utility guy. I know people say, well, Samuel did it, you know, Cardell Stewart did it, Dion did it, you know, and I know I probably missed a few guys, but I think with football, I think you need to have that one solid position. You know, I mean, offense and defense is totally two different aspects. I mean, so if he wants to be a receiver, you can go out there and practice and just be able to maybe go out there on a dime package or something, or vice versa, whatever. But I think to have the knowledge to play both sides of the ball is good to have, just in case of those last minute injuries, or just hey, let's throw you out there, let's just go get the ball. But I don't think the scouts are wrong to say that. But again, if I was him, I would just keep doing what I'm doing. And then when he gets drafted, if they say, hey, you need to pick one side or the other, then let's sit down and talk. But, if he's being productive, I mean, like you said, last game he wasn't productive. So maybe, Coach Prime needs to sit him down and be like, okay, if you're going to be a big influence on the offensive side, then defense, we can only have you play X amount of plays. If you want to be a defensive guy, then on the offensive side, you can only play X amount of plays. So he's probably not grasping it, but in other sports, I think that utility is always good. But I think football, I think you do have to kind of hone in on one area and maybe practice a little bit on the defensive side as a corner or a safety. But I think he does need to kind of hone in on one side.
I mean, in a way, I kind of get what you're talking about, but because of how much he struggled on the defensive side of the ball, like if you're going to choose the side and that you're struggling defensively, why would you even stay on that side? Like he struggled so bad at cornerback. Look, yep. Hunter, I can tell you, Hunter is going to be one of those guys that I feel could potentially go in maybe the first or second round if he focused on just receiver. But he's going to be receiver and corner, so people are going to wonder, is he coming out as receiver? Is he coming out as a corner? Now, you do have – it's just like you said, though. You do have those certain people in the NFL who have done that. But it's not – but you do it typically if – okay, so we have an injury on the defensive side of the ball. We're running short on corners, and we need to stick this guy out there at corner, or we need to throw him out there as safety. Oh, okay. Or the game is on the line, and you know that the quarterback's going to throw a Hail Mary to try and win it. So you're going to take your tall receiver and stick him out there in the end zone to try and knock it down or intercept it. Those are times that you're going to see, receivers go out there and play corner.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, he's got the guy, the coach that could kind of lead him and be like, here's what I did when I played both sides of the ball. And I don't think Dion played much offense. I mean, he was a stud
it wasn't much.
Corner. So, I mean, that's what Dion's got to get to him. Be like, hey, I know you want to play both sides, but maybe we focus 100%, 95% on this side of the football, and then that 5%, maybe we throw you out there on 3rd and long, or 4th or whatever, or vice versa. If he wants to be a defensive guy.
Well, yeah, because every now and then you even see a coach who might take a corner who's extremely fast, and he might bring him on offense and be like, hey, we're going to have you run a reverse. We're going to have you run a route to take the top off the defense, because the defense will follow you deep because you are quick or whatever. So you might see that, but in the end, yeah. So James, I'll go to you on this one. Do you agree with this assessment?
I'm kind of torn about it because I'm looking at this season. Hunter, He's played 88 snaps on defense, 69 on offense, 157 snaps. That's like the old two-way style, Chuck Bernier kind of football that you never see anybody do when it comes to the next level. I was trying to remember with Dion. I don't think in Atlanta when he first started, I don't think he played offense. But when he got to the Cowboys, I think just based on need, they put him on offense as a receiver. So you could do that only if you wanted to do that. But I'm looking also too at his stats, and I'm also reminded of his injury over the middle. There was a pass that went high, and then he got hit, got cut, basically a late hit, and had a lacerated liver. So I'm thinking to myself, he can't take too many of those hits anymore. So maybe the best option, if he can get better at defense, I guess I would do that. But you make more money, I think, being a wide receiver. And since the NFL game's more an offensive-driven league, I would go be a receiver. And I'm also looking at his defensive stats this year. They're the same basically just like last year at Jackson State. One interception this year. But as you mentioned, he's had some bad games. Now that could be too, maybe a safety not coming over to help. Maybe that could be an issue because he's a corner, thinking that he has safety help. I know in that Stafford game where they allowed so many points in the second half, it was the safeties not doing their job, making Hunter look bad. So maybe in the right scheme, he can thrive as a defensive player. I'm also looking at his receiving though. He's been putting up really, really good numbers. 2 touchdowns. He had 4 last year. I think it's just based on need for him, honestly. Man, but I think you make more money if you're a receiver, but you gotta be worried about the liver. So I guess for college right now, and we've seen this before, where players play 2 ways, and then they finally, end up on, playing one side of the ball. I think it's a wait and see thing because he's only a sophomore, so he has time to develop, one side of the ball more than the other. He has time to do it. So I'm going to wait and see how the rest of his college career goes before I decide, hey, should he be a receiver or should be a corner?
Yeah. So because you were talking about Deion Sanders and you were wondering about his stats and stuff. So Deion's best statistical year on the offensive side of the ball actually came in 1996 when he had 36 catches for 475 yards and a touchdown. That was his best statistical year. Other than that, no other year did he have over 10 catches. After that, his best year, he had 7 catches. So again, it was 1 year that they used him on offense a lot. And with the Falcons, it looked like he averaged maybe he had 6-3, 1-1 in his time with the Falcons. That's how much they actually used him on offense, which wasn't much. So again, it's
the thing is that's the catches. I mean, we don't know how many times he was on the offensive side. So
no, and I get it, but could this be a situation like you're looking at Ohtani in baseball, to where Ohtani is that 2-way player? Could Travis Hunter be the Ohtani of football, to where you have offense and defense? I don't personally know. I don't know if it's a good idea, but it's something that you definitely could see. So mess around. We're talking about Travis Hunter. We're talking about how he plays both sides of the ball, and then the NFL scouts are coming out saying Travis Hunter needs to focus on one or the other, because if he does, it can hurt his NFL career if he tries to play both receiver and corner like he's doing in college. So what's your thoughts on that?
You already know, bro. We talked about this after the game on Saturday. um, it's
Right?
funny that we had this topic because we just talked about that. But I don't know. I think he definitely does need to stick to one because I agree. He's gonna, like I told you when I talked to you on the phone, that like he's wearing himself out. He played like 70 snaps on offense in one game, 60 on defense, and then second game was close to the same. Then he got hurt. So he definitely needs to stick to one spot.
Yeah, for the longevity's sake, yes. But what the scouts are saying is that it's going to bring him down because they don't know if he's going to be more offense or defense. So that can bring his draft stock down. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that part, but that'll be a wait and
If
see.
if he's good, if he's really exceptionally good at one, he'll get drafted high. If he's a great receiver, he's gonna get taken high or corner.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Crispy, what is your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's only one scout's opinion that I know of, or that
It
we.
was several scouts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should play, on either side, offense or defense. But I think it helps for teams to know that he could play on both sides. That way, if there is an emergency situation, maybe he could come in, kind of like you were saying, like an Otani, and maybe fill that spot if needed, as that emergency player.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I definitely agree with that. So I'm glad we got to talk about this. It's going to be interesting to see what happens further down the road, whether he switches to either just goes with receiver, corner, or if he decides to stick it out and play both. All right, so going on to our next topic, and I know Big B, you were kind of shocked about this one when I put it in the chat because you're like, did he really say that? And yes, he did. So we're going to talk about how Caleb Williams came out and basically said, "Hey, he wants a fraction of ownership of the team that he's going to play for." Well, we already know in the NFL that they don't allow that because that was something that Rodgers said too. Like Rodgers said when he went to the Jets, he was saying, "Hey, I wanted them to give me a part ownership of the Jets," but the NFL would not allow it. Now this kind of surprises me.
With the Broncos.
What?
I think Russell Wilson did the same with the Broncos. They were like, no.
Yeah, I think he did try, but now Caleb Williams is in college and coming out and saying this. So I know Big B, I know you had some stuff to say about this. So I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Caleb Williams wanting to be part owner of the team he's drafted to?
Man, it's these young athletes. I mean, they got some, as Vince McMahon would say, grapefruits because to come out and jeopardize your stock, jeopardize, this game that you guys love to play since you guys were in high school or pee-wees or whatever. There's only 32 teams. There's, 56 on a roster. I think 12 on a practice squad. So to be able to live out your dream and then come out and say that as you're not even in the league yet, I really think he's trying to push teams away from him so he does not get drafted and he can sign wherever he wants because he'd already have a list of 6 teams that he wants to play for. So I think he's just doing whatever he can to not get drafted so that he can just sign as a free agent. And I mean, there's going to be some team out there that's going to take a flyer on him in the 5th, 6th round if this keeps happening. And I just don't get it. I think we all can agree that we love sports, and if we could play at the high level, we would just shut our mouths and play for whoever we get drafted for. I think somebody in his family, teachers, professors, best friend, somebody that he can trust needs to get into his ear and just say, "Hey, dude, you need to chill out. You need to play your game, get drafted where you want to go. if you don't want to be there, don't sign a multi-year deal. Sign a 1-year deal and then go somewhere else. So just because he is, one in how many people that get a chance to do what they want to do if he gets drafted in the NFL. So I think he just needs to shut up.
Well, he also needs to do like what? Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, and I was saying hi to Amy. All right, go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say he needs to do like what Mahomes. He said he came out and said, "Yeah, when I'm done retiring, I want to own a team." But he said, "When I retire."
Yeah, so. I think the problem is Caleb Williams seems to be one of those guys that, like, people are talking so much about him and talking about how he's, the definite number 1 overall pick. And I think this is a guy that's actually letting this get to his head. And he's thinking, oh, wow, like, these guys are big into me. Every team will be coming for me. They want me on their team. Mm-hmm. And now it's like getting to that point now to where he's like, hey, I can say whatever I want. I can try and get whatever I want, and they'll do it because of the hype. And it's just like Tim saying, Caleb lives too much in his own hype. And Tim is also saying, if the Elway situation never happened, this may not happen. Look, and I get the Elway thing, but after the Elway thing, you also have the Eli Manning situation too. Yep. So it's So saying, I'm not playing for the Chargers. I'm not doing it. But you know what? The players shouldn't get that option. They shouldn't. They should have to play where they drafted.
No, you're right. And the thing is if you're the first pick or the last pick, you don't want to play for that team. Play 1 year, and then move on. I mean, there's nowhere in the rule books that says you have to sign a multi-year deal.
Well, first-round draft picks are guaranteed 4-year contract.
Yeah, it's a 4-year. But you can request
sign the 4-year deal then. But
yeah, but you can request a trade. If you play a year, you can say, "Hey, trade me, or I'm not playing." It's as simple as that.
Well, I don't know if they can go that far because then, but you know what? Play your 4 years and then don't even talk about re-signing. Just be like, you know what? It is what it is. I mean,
yeah, and then you even get that fifth-year option in the first round too. So,
right. All right.
But that's when you play well.
So, James, what's your thoughts on the situation with Caleb Williams?
Man, I feel like the college players now with the NIL deals, they're getting a lot of money, a lot of privilege that we really haven't seen before from college athletes, and they're just trying to put it to the next level. I find this report very timely because of the loss in Notre Dame. He didn't look so good. I believe he threw 3 interceptions. And this report came out, or this happened supposedly in July from Pro Football Talk that claimed that representatives from Caleb's group said he was talking to agents, telling teams that they want partial ownership if he declares for the draft. And again, it can't happen. And I know Elway, the owner back then, Bolin, wanted to do that, but it was illegal at that time, like it is now, where they wanted to give him ownership of the Denver Broncos or partial ownership. Eventually, of course, Elway became the president of the Broncos. But yeah, I feel like it's too much. And then imagine, see, this is the issue too, because this happened in Winning Time with the Lakers on the HBO show, and it almost happened in it happened in real life where a player was too close to the owner. They would hang out all the time, Magic Johnson and Dr. Jerry Buss, and it threw the team aloof because, he has all the control, I guess, over the players, so he can do whatever he wants. So I'd be worried about that if that ever was to be a thing, if a player, part owned the team and it isn't like 1920 or whatever, because that happened back then. It doesn't happen now, of course, with ownerships or whatever and big big money markets. So I knew this eventually isn't going to happen. Of course, he could look down the line, but I think he and his group just threw this out there just to see what would happen. But again, I find it very timely because he lost really bad against Notre Dame, and I think the reporters wanted to wait at the perfect time, kind of at his downfall of this season, wanted to wait until they finally lost the game to let this leak out. So, and that always happens whenever something controversial comes out. It's always after something, bad that somebody does or wants, I guess. But I can't see this ever happening. But man, you could just tell the college players, they are asking for more and more as they're trying to get to the next level. And remember, Williams is the guy. His father was the one that told the media basically he's going to go to this list of teams, this 5 teams, none of which that are in the top 5 right now for the top pick. So I just felt like there's too much being talked about him. He just, like, kind of what Big B mentioned, he just need to play the game and let his play do the talking, or the game do the talking, and worry about that stuff when it comes up, but not go overboard with the wantings of stuff. You just don't want that, though.
Yeah, and kind of like you said, to where it was kind of at a bad time, to where Caleb Williams came out and he threw 3 interceptions, and because he threw those 3 interceptions, that there was rumblings about, oh, you know what, Williams is kind of overrated and blah 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 blah. The thing is about this is, like, a player can be good for a certain amount of time, have a bad game, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, this guy's overrated. He's not as good as people think. It's like people don't realize that people are allowed to have bad games. But I'm not saying that what he's doing with this is right, because it's not. Because he's not even in the NFL yet. We don't even know what type of player he's going to be in the NFL. But all right, so Callan's saying this might be an overreaction, but does Caleb Williams' dad appear to be the next LeVar Ball? Yeah,
it's getting up there.
Yeah, LeVar Ball was one of those guys that talked up all his kids.
And the thing is right now, I mean, us 5 all root for a different team. Yeah. Would we want right now, if this was draft time, our team going after Caleb Williams and have a distraction?
If the draft happened now, my team would have first and second pick.
Yeah, but because of everything that is coming out about Caleb Williams with his dad and everything he's saying, would you want Chicago to take that chance with Caleb Williams?
No. You want to know why? Because this is what I was going to say about Caleb Williams. How many USC quarterbacks have dominated college and then squat in the NFL?
About 6 or 7.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
So if he wants to be good, he needs to stay on his stuff and not run his mouth and let, like James said, they do the talking. I mean, there's been so many guys at USC that were killing it in college and flamed out in the NFL. Matt Leinart, list goes on and on, but
Carson Palmer,
he's the
only good one.
Shut up and play,
right? Yeah. No, so mess around. You're saying since your team currently would sit at 1 and 2, you would not want Chicago to take a chance on him right now, pretty much.
No, only because of the USC thing. I just don't trust USC quarterbacks.
But you're saying, but you're saying with what he's saying now, the way he's acting, you don't think it would be a distraction?
Oh, it's LeVar Ball's all over again. It's that type of situation. Nobody wants their dad to do their talking for him. Dad just needs to shut up and let his kid live his life.
Exactly. And that's the situation that we're running into now.
You
So,
know what
so
his
Tim is
problem
saying,
is? His problem is he's part of the generation that was never spanked and told to go pick their own
Yeah.
shit.
yeah, exactly. So Tim's saying USC quarterbacks are a lot like Ohio State quarterbacks
Mhm.
in the NFL. They are.
Mhm.
It's the truth. USC and Ohio State are like the two colleges that you really look at that you're like, all right, they're good in college, but why are they so bad in the NFL?
And the thing, and the thing with Williams is what I would be if I was him or somebody that knew him very closely, be like, dude, you have a chance because they're talking about his receiver, Harrison's boy,
Yeah,
coming out too this year and being the number 2 pick. It's like, dude, you have the chance to make history in the draft before you even step on the NFL field by being the first and second overall picks on the same team and start your career together. I mean, if man, that would be huge to already know one of your weapons and have good chemistry with them already. I just think, like I think we've all said, he just needs to play. I mean, don't
Yeah.
talk. Don't let your dad talk.
So welcome in, Callan. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. How's it going?
Not too bad. We saw you left a comment about the Caleb Williams situation, so we'll get your thoughts.
Honestly, guys, I just feel like that Caleb Williams is hurting his stock more and more. And honestly, I don't really think it's his fault. I feel like this, to my comment, kind of feels like that Caleb Williams' father is kind of in a way becoming LeVar Ball 2.0. I don't think he's as boisterous or as out of control as LeVar was with Lonzo and LiAngelo and LaMelo back when they were at UCLA or coming out of UCLA. But I still think, though, that this could turn a lot of organizations off. And sadly, it's kind of like going through a divorce almost. Like Caleb Williams was going to get punished by an NFL team if he doesn't go like number 1 in the draft because, well, your dad said this, because you know, outside influences is what may hurt his draft stock. And honestly, like I've said, I don't think this is anywhere near a reflection on Caleb Williams, though I think that I'm wondering, though, if this is another one of those like instances of like something that was said that should not have been made public that Caleb said, because I don't really think, guys, that a kid in college would be already wondering about owning a franchise if he goes to this club. This isn't like Bill Russell with the Celtics back in the day when he was player head coach at one point at the very, very, very tail end of his career. So this story is just interesting, and I think it's also unneeded pub for a kid that I know has been making a lot of millions of dollars in NIL money with Wendy's and all these other commercial spots and things. But I don't really think, though, that a kid in college would already be wanting to talk this big of a game like, oh, I want ownership stake of this club. Like that to me just doesn't sound like something that we'd be hearing from a college senior, a college junior at this stage of his, brief career. And again, who's not to say that he doesn't pull a Matt Leinart and go back for one more year next season because, well, I want to go play in Chicago. In a way, it almost reminds me of Ricky Rubio when he was coming out of Europe when the Wolves were going to grab him. Sorry, Brandon, to remind you of this, but he said, "No, too cold. I don't want to go play in Minnesota." So, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I do kind of feel bad for Caleb because it almost, like I said, feels like that this could be LeVar Ball 2.0. But at the same time, I feel like, though, that if this continues on, that it's only going to hurt his stock more and more and more if his dad does not know how to keep his mouth shut.
All right.
Yep.
So thank you for all the conversation on Caleb Williams. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go into our next conversation. Not our next conversation, but our next topic of the night, which is kind of an interesting one. The way I worded it might have been a little confusing, but I was just saying overall, it didn't matter what sport you came from. You could take one from this sport, that sport, that sport. It doesn't matter. But overall, your Mount Rushmore of coaches. Who is on your Mount Rushmore? So, James, I'll start with you. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of coaches?
Is it my favorite coaches, or like, are we basing this on the most successful?
However you did it. However you chose your list.
Shit. Okay, that's tough. John Wooden is one. John Madden, two. Oh man.
What, you running out of Johns?
Crap. Yeah, John Wooden, John Madden. Give me Pat Summitt.
Ooh.
Good call.
And God, I don't want to show any bias or whatever, but
Oh, who cares? Do it anyway.
Vince Lombardi.
You know you.
Yeah. And there goes Ben Around. He's off. All right. Big B, what is your Mount Rushmore?
Ooh. Man, this is honestly tough because I've been thinking since I saw you posted it. I'm just like, which way do I want to go? How do I want to rank them? I wasn't even thinking Pat Summitt, but that's a good one there, James. I'm not even going to take that one. Man, that's tough. I'd have to go with Mike Ditka because everybody seemed to want to play for him no matter, and he had the aggressiveness on the sidelines there. So, Bobby Cox for the Braves. It just I know they're going to say, well, he couldn't get the titles. Yeah, but he got people to play for him. I mean, look at the success they had. Two more. Phil Jackson, I know I'm going to have to put him up there. Just the fact that you can't argue that you can't not argue discredit him for playing with or coaching 8 of the best 100 players ever to play. And I am going to be a little biased. I think Tom Kelly is a great manager. Just the fact that his opening day lineup was the same as his 160-day lineup, barring injuries. So he played everybody, and they all seem to love to play for him. So that's my top 4.
Yeah. So Tim Hendricks has Don Shula, Phil Jackson, which again, those are like 2 of the ones that I had on my list. And Gino Arima, and then Scotty Bowman. So not a bad list. All right. Mess around.
Nope. He's
Nope.
gone.
He's back. So mess around. Your Mount Rushmore of coaches.
I hate to do it because I hate this team so much with a passion. But you can't have a list without Bill Belichick.
Oh yeah.
The guy's won the most Super Bowls as a coach, so I gotta have him on the list. And then Phil Jackson. And I gotta have Ozzie Gain in there because he's the only guy I ever saw the White Sox take the White Sox.
He has a good one.
So and then Brett Auerbach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Callan, your Mount Rushmore of coaches.
Yeah, I'm James and Tim named a couple. I mean, if I had to pick, I'd probably lean towards Gino because he had more success with all the national titles and the fact he's still coaching. But obviously, Pat Summitt revolutionized, not really revolutionized, but really, I think, paved the way for female coaches in basketball, whether it's men's or women's hoops. So I'll go with Gino. I'll go with Gino Ariema first. No, again, no particular order, but Gino for sure. I would probably throw John Wooden in there too because of the pyramid of success and his motivating factors. I think he wrote books. I think he even put like a whole thing about coaching out as well. So Gino and Wooden. Gino and Wooden. I would throw Don Coryell on there. A guy revolutionized the way that the NFL is played with the air raid offense, the Air Coryell Chargers back in the day. coached at San Diego State. Finally got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame for, after like years and years and years of them trying to get him in finally. And then after that, I would probably have to say Joe Torre would have to be on that list too.
Oh,
Ooh, that's a good one.
Respect.
well, so three of mine have been actually. I think all four of them have been game because
We read Ace's mind.
yeah, you did because I had Don Shula, I had Phil Jackson, and of course I'm a homer on this one and biased, but Vince Lombardi, absolutely. I put him on my list, and then Joe Torre was actually on my list too. I was like,
No Bobby Cox.
no, it was close. It was close, but Torre, based on pure success and in championships, is
I almost
basically
put Nick Saban in there too, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Belichick, and I can't have both of them.
right.
All right, let's hear Chris pick all his Cowboy coaches.
Landry, Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson.
Crispy,
Jason
you are
Garrett.
and you're on mute. You're
Somebody
not
said
listening.
Jason Garrett. I start clapping.
Yep.
No, you're not on. No. We'll go Landry. We'll go.
Landry, okay. Mike McCarthy.
We'll go. We'll go Sheila.
No.
Dave Campo.
No. No.
No.
Bill Parcells.
We'll go Landry, Sheila.
What's
Summit.
up, Seth Johnson Ford? Okay, who?
Lombardi. And we'll go Phil Jackson.
And Phil Jackson. I got it. All
The
right.
Zen Master.
So he named
Yeah.
his sport. So hey, I'm so proud of you, Chris. You actually left some Cowboys coaches off of there. So
Because he's not biased, for God's sakes.
Well, and the
Right.
thing is there's two names that I'm kind of surprised. Well, maybe I should have said them, but being a football guy, I mean Walsh. I mean, look at the tree that he produced, and honestly, Jimmy Johnson. I gotta say that his brainery behind this whole charting the draft picks and getting value and ripping out the Vikings, I think was phenomenal. I mean,
I'm just glad someone. Well, I mean, I
No,
know I said I'm
Jimmy
glad
didn't
someone
do
mentioned
that.
Coryell though.
Yeah, all right. So Seth Johnson Ford saying Belichick, Phil Jackson, Popovich, Bill Walsh, and he had one more on there, which is Bruce Bochy. Those, but so he put an extra one, but that's okay. That's all right. That was
Pop's
his extra.
Pop's another guy too that I kind of think we all just kind of overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely put Popovich there. I almost thought about Bochy, but I'm like, I don't know.
Coach K.
Coach K, absolutely.
Jim
Another one.
Valvano.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are a ton of them that you could actually put
Bobby
out
the
there.
Brain Heenan. I mean, we forgot him as a wrestling fan. No, I'm just.
I don't think that qualifies square two. Good try though.
Right.
Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio.
That was a definite good try there. Awesome try, but it just didn't quite pan out. All right, going on to our next topic, and I want to ask you: is this an overreaction here that the Winnipeg Jets should move due to the dwindling attendance? They had their lowest attendance at 11,226. So that's the dwindling attendance, and it just keeps going lower and lower and lower. So now people are saying, well, I thought that Canada was known for hockey, and now you're in Winnipeg and you have the dwindling attendance, and now people and I do think that this is an overreaction, that people are telling Winnipeg, be ready because another hockey team is going to leave again. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't foresee it happening. So, Callan, I know since you're a hockey guy, I'll go ahead and I'll start with you on this. Your thoughts about, do you think that this is an overreaction?
No, it's a way blown out of proportion overreaction. It's their first home game. They happen to be playing Los Angeles, where they dealt or traded one of their big name players to over the offseason. And because the game was on locally here in Southern California on one of the Valley Sports affiliates, and anytime Pierre-Luc Dubois touched the puck, the whole arena that was left of them had basically booed him the whole entire night because he made remarks over the offseason about wanting out of Winnipeg and things like that. But this is nothing more than a utter stupid overreaction after one home game, for the fact, like one or two home games. And anyone out there who thinks that they're going to move back to Atlanta or move to another market because of 11,000 people showing up to one particular home game in the month of October, stop it. This is the team that began the whole, tradition of people wearing the same color for every home game when they were the original Jets back in the early 90s or 80s and 90s, the Winnipeg whiteout. Chris Jericho talks about it all the time when he would go back there for wrestling promotions in Winnipeg. That was the city that I recall starting the whole rally towel thing, or people wearing the same color, whether it was white, red, anything up in Canada. So I look at it more as an overreaction because of the fact of it's a game in October on a Tuesday. I get it's early in the season and that, that there's hype surrounding the team and things like that. But, it could be, just factors that are in fact a thing right now. But I really think that this is just a pure overreaction for a single game on the schedule. And I know they played LA. People were there mainly to boo Pierre-Luc Dubois on Tuesday because of what he said over the offseason and him getting traded and things like that. But even if they do relocate the club because of the attendance issues that they're having, which I don't see how it could be justifiable after 2 or 3 home games, and the fact they have their minor league club, the Manitoba Moose, playing in the same exact arena as the Jets. I mean, I know about Quebec being an option. I know Atlanta might be an option, but really we're going to send them back 11 years that they left their old market to go back because of one bad game for attendance. So, this is nowhere close to, sadly, what's going on with the Coyotes. That is a whole nother story, can of worms. I'm not going to spew what was spewed on here by a different podcast host about the Coyotes, about, whatever he said about them a long time ago. But I just really think that it's people overreacting and people grabbing at straws and grabbing at nothing because they need something to fill the news on a Wednesday. So I don't really think that the NHL would do all that work to get an ownership group in place in Winnipeg, move that team out of Atlanta the second time to go to Winnipeg, and then based off of maybe a couple games of low attendance, all of a sudden say, oh my goodness, we're going to move him to Quebec. We're going to put him back in Atlanta. I don't really think, I think it's more of a overreaction, people losing their minds. And if anything, the NHL should be more concerned about what's going on in Arizona, because I don't know how much longer that team can keep playing at a 5,000 seat venue. I think they have one more option for next season. They've been going through a lot of political nonsense with voting for the site in Tempe. They got shot down back in May. There's been reports of Houston and Kansas City, Atlanta, Quebec City, Hartford. Maybe a very long shot would be San Diego, but I don't see that happening for a multitude of factors I won't get into. But I don't think that the NHL would really do all that work to get a team back in Winnipeg after that city did not have a club since '96 when they left for Phoenix and became the Coyotes. Too much time and effort has been spent to make the Jets what they are, and for goodness sake, they made the playoffs I think all but 2 or 3 years since they've been back. I think they made the conference final, a couple times. They've been close, but I mean, for all that hard work to be done to bring that club back, bring the name back, nonetheless, the Winnipeg Jets, they kind of feel like they're an iconic brand coming over from the WHA back in the day. I think it's a lot of, pulling at straws just to fill the headlines on a slow day when the Jets are off after they got crushed by the Kings on Tuesday. That's how I view it.
All right. And then Jason also says, "What does a frozen beer, a pregnant woman, and a burnt pizza have in common?"
I don't know if we want to even answer that question.
I'll mess around. You got a little bit of an echo going there. All right. So,
Do I?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, Big B, what is your thoughts on? Do you think that this is overreaction?
Yeah, I mean you look on ESPN, their capacity is only 15,000, so they're only 4,000 away from being a sellout. But again, if they move, I don't think Winnipeg should get another franchise. I mean, they can't keep bouncing around until they find the right team. I mean, not everybody's a hockey fan. I mean, I know Canada. You think they would be? Same here in Minnesota. I mean, we're a state of hockey. Canada's sport is hockey. You think they would have no problem selling out any kind of stadium or arena for hockey? But like Callan said, though, has nothing to do with the Coyotes and their situation. That's just a whole different thing that we could talk about later. But I think the fans need to get out there and support their teams. I mean, I know the prices are up there. I know I have a hard time spending money to go to these games, but if you don't want to lose your team, you got to go support them. That's the only way they're going to stay.
All right, James, do you believe that this is an overreaction?
Yeah, it is. I've been trying to get a grasp of what the fans are talking about, and people are saying with that trade, they're not, going for they're not competing with somewhat, but a lot of the fans are saying, regardless of the attendance, it's the least desirable market in the league by a long shot. They feel like it's a dump, but as long as the Coyotes are in the league, I don't think there's going to be an issue of the Jets moving away again. I just don't see that happening. They want stability in the NHL. And then I look around the league, and one game I think lit my eyes up from last night. The Lightning and Sabres game in Buffalo had a lot of empty seats. And, Lightning are, contenders all the time. Buffalo's trying to get up there. So I think it's just early in the league, early in the season in the league. And sometimes on a weeknight, you're not going to have a lot of people show up despite who's playing.
Exactly.
It happens in the NBA. It happens in baseball all the time. Yeah. It just depends what market. Just depends on the weather outside that people want to go out. Weekdays and a long scheduled season, you're not going to get sellouts or good attended games every game, especially early. So because that's a tourist attraction. So and maybe inflation has to do some of it too, with families not being able to go out, especially on a weeknight. I just blame the weeknight. I blame it being the opening part of the season. I blame all those factors. Now, if they have a struggling season and it continues, maybe you're a little concerned. But then if people are still starting to show up, and if you're trying to contend, this shouldn't be an issue.
All right. Let's see. Mess around. You might still have that echo. We'll figure it out.
It's frozen.
All right.
I'm here.
Mess around. What's your thoughts?
Overreaction, underreaction. My reaction is no reaction because I really don't follow hockey. You know this.
Okay.
That's why you saved me for last, huh?
Yeah. Well, we have Crispy actually. So.
Oh yeah, that's not
Crispy,
Crispy.
I'll
My bad.
jump to you on this one. Do you have overreaction?
Yeah,
Or
I think it's an overreaction, like you guys said. It just depends on what day of the week it is. You're not going to get a lot of fans on a weekday compared to a weekend because of school or work or whatever. But I think let the season play out and see what happens.
all right. And Big B, are you laughing about the comment?
Yeah.
Wait, where did he say it's from? Or Winnipeg is?
North Dakota.
What the hell?
Wait, what?
Isaiah.
Right.
Oh,
I missed that
Wait.
comment. What?
Wait, where did Isaiah say it was?
he said Winnipeg is in North Dakota or South Dakota?
North Dakota.
North Dakota.
On a different show? Because that would be.
Yes, a while back.
I don't remember
okay,
that.
okay. So it was a while back. Okay, I was trying to figure it out because when I saw this comment,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
like,
looking at the
wait,
comments. I'm
where
like, wait a minute, what?
yeah, I was confused. I was looking at this and I'm like, wait, where did Isaiah pop in?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for right now.
I was so confused. Okay, so going into our final topic, we're gonna make this as brief as we possibly can. But it came out that said it is said that Manny Machado should be the most unmovable player in MLB. Like if any team was to not move somebody, it should be Manny Machado. So would you actually does he have the stats to actually back this up to where you would look at Machado and be like, yeah, he's the most unmovable player in MLB right now? And James, I'll start out with you.
Okay, I'm trying to get the question. So the most unmovable, just based on how good his numbers are.
That's what it said.
Okay.
Based on defensive side and based on offensive
Leadership.
He's the most unmovable player.
Him and Mookie Betts probably are 1A, 1B. Now, the opposite of that is Angels third baseman Anthony Rendon. You want to move him for the, let's just say, lack of production and lack of health and lack of caring and giving a damn. But, yeah, it's probably Machado 1A, Betts 1B. Yeah, just the leadership that both bring. I think that really matters. I mean, maybe Acuna Jr. would be up there. But, yeah, I agree with that. I think, yeah, Machado and Betts.
All right, mess around. Is Manny Machado the most unmovable player?
Are we talking about like if Otani wasn't a free agent?
No, we're not doing. We're talking about because Machado's on a team that they're saying if there was a team that should hold on to him, the Padres should keep him because he should be a player that you should never get rid of.
Well, there's one guy you shouldn't give it, it's Otani, but other than that, everybody's got a price.
Everybody's got a price. All right, Big B, what is your thoughts?
It's tough. I think Mesron hit it on the head. I think that everybody has an asking price. I mean, the team does. I should say, not Machado himself. But it's tough because if you can get a good chunk to move a guy, you should do it because you just never know what his career is going to get. And granted, again, you're not going to know what you're going to get in return So, to me, in all the sports I've watched, the only guy that I think would be untouchable in their prime or any time would be Michael Jordan. That's just me, though. I know everybody will say LeBron and stuff, but for this sake, I don't think he's untouchable, but I think the asking price would be up there based on his numbers, his leadership, and stuff like that.
All right, Crispy, how about you?
Yeah, everybody's got a price. I don't know if I'm gonna say no. I don't think he's untouchable. I'm not sure of the circumstances, but everybody has a price. Everybody, says they want to stay at a certain team. Sometimes that doesn't happen. So,
all right. So, Callan, we know that the Padres are your team. So, do you agree with it that they're saying that Manny Machado should be the most unmovable player?
Numbers aside, I think he is, at least for the organization he is, because I don't think he would have re-signed for a new 11-year contract if the franchise didn't believe he was unmovable. I mean, the same with Tatis and, some of the other money that they've thrown around to Darvish and Musgrove and players like that. But, and it's not, and, I think the numbers can go out the door because at the end of the day, if the six of us went to a Padre game in San Diego, we would know about the numbers. But what about the other 45,000 people who probably could care less about the game? They went there with a free ticket to go and drink beer and be with their friends on a Friday night, and they don't know anything about the game. They see all the numbers though, but it's more honestly about does it sell to the fan base? And I think as you saw this past season with how the Padres for the first time in club history have a waiting list for season seats even spilling into next season. At the end of the day, that's what sells. It's not necessarily about, the numbers or anything. It's more about big name players playing in this city and this market that has one legitimate Big Four sports team until Major League Soccer comes here in 2025, on top of the fact that we have, other things going on. But I mean, for us, I think that we would say everyone has their price though, but would he have signed an 11-year extension if it was about his numbers or his, leadership or lack of leadership because of what maybe has been said about him during this season and even back in 2021 when the Padres had, 2 dismal seasons sandwiched around an NLCS trip last season. So I really don't think that the numbers really matter at the end of the day because it's more about what will bring people to the ballpark for an 81-game home schedule. If it's about numbers, then half the team would be traded for nobodies if it was about numbers, and at the end of the day, numbers don't sell because if numbers did sell, then the Padres wouldn't be having 61 of their 81 home games this past year sold out, and they'd be having a 2-year or a year-long wait list for season seats. So, I mean, I know that everyone has their price and things like that, though, but I look at it more of like Machado sells, Bogart sells, Fernando sells, and at the and again, that's what more, I guess, is my stance is like. At the end of the day, do all the people who come to these games and sell out Petco Park on a nightly basis for the first time that I've, in almost 30 years I've been alive where every game is basically sold out. Do all those people really care about the numbers? Do they even know what those numbers stand for when they look at the scoreboard when he comes up to the plate? I'd say 90%, maybe 85, 90% don't because they're there with corporate outings, friends, family. They got a free ticket at the last minute. They bought one just to buy one. They're from out of town. And again, they may not know anything about the game, but it's a tourist attraction to come and visit the city and come and watch the game. At the end of the day, the Padres won't care that Machado had a career low year because, well, yeah, man, he sucked at the plate. But guess what? 3 million fans came to Padre games this year. We sold out all but 20 home games this year. We have a waiting list of season seats for the first time in franchise history dating back to when we were a PCL team back in the 30s. That's what more so sells, more than just, well, he hit 290 and had 15 homers. Again, that's all fun. That's all fun and games for us. But at the end of the day, the front office and everyone in there is going to look more at like attendance numbers, jersey sales, merchandise sales, concession sales, more than, well, the guys didn't play well on the field. I mean, I get about being untouchable and stuff like that, but it's more of a thing that I've seen that I've never seen my team do this in almost 30 years. Yeah, we had our run in 98. We had our chances in 05 and 06 and 2020 and last season, but I've never have seen this city rally around the Padres as much as they have since the Chargers have left. We're losing another soccer team at the end of their season due to MLS coming here. So it's more of like the city is actually behind the Padres for the first legitimate time in my soon to be 30 years on this planet. And it's something I've loved seeing because I've seen more people wearing Padre gear around town. No Dodger crap, no Giant crap, no Diamondback crap around my hometown. Finally, it's actually Padre brown and gold or blue and orange or blue and white, whatever color combo they pick, basically. So I get about being untouchable, maybe, you could trade him or whatever. But if you trade any of those star players from the Padres, maybe minus Juan Soto, this fan base would be in utter shambles, much like what Sally would happen with James's club if anything happens with Ohtani and Trout, because this has been you've been building this for so many years on end, and now here you are with all this star talent. Season ticket memberships are on pause. You're selling out games consistently, even though you were like 15 games below 500 in the middle of the pennant race. So, like, again, this sort of stuff doesn't happen here, and the fact it's happening now, forget the numbers. It's what sells to the fan base, and Machado and these guys have sold, despite the fact that they didn't make the postseason. So there you go.
All right, thank you. Okay, so with that being said, we are at our mark now, so we can kind of go around and kind of give our final thoughts for that. Big B, if you're still there, go ahead and give us your final thoughts.
It's great to get out and talk. These topics were amazing. Like talking about, got everybody's good opinion. Just keep checking out C2C all week long. Got some great ideas brewing. Hopefully we can get on and get time slots for these shows that we got talking about. Thanks for Seth for jumping on. J-Mac, of course. Tim, I saw a comment from him. So just keep checking us out all week long.
All right, Crispy, I don't know if you're still there, but any final thoughts? Nope. All right. So, James, how about you?
Oh, it's good to be back and good to talk about these topics I would never even think about talking about.
All right. Well, I don't know if we should take that as good or bad, but I'll tell
No,
you.
it's good because I didn't know about a lot of the stuff going on.
Right. So
I had to do my research 2:30, this afternoon about it.
All right, Callan, final thoughts.
Yeah, sorry for being tardy to the party again. Wednesdays with work and the show starting at 9 and getting off work at 9 and getting back home in time after going and grabbing food and having to go still eat that said food is one thing. But, of course, always nice to come on. Quick shout out to the Las Vegas Aces of the WNBA back-to-back league champs. They knocked off New York in a very close game, 70-69 at Barclays Center. To win back-to-back titles, first time since the 01-02 Sparks did that. Candace Parker, three-time champion now, and the first player in the league history to win 3 titles with 3 different franchises, a la LeBron with the Lakers and the Cavs and Miami. But shout out to her, and also Becky Hammon. 2 years in the league coaching, 2 championships. So very happy for the Vegas fan base who've they're celebrating 3 titles in 2 seasons between the Knights and then the Aces going back-to-back. So congrats to the Aces and the ownership, the fans, and, of course, to the organization for something that hasn't been done in quite a while in league history. And, hey, that league is only going up from here. And, it was a great battle between the Aces and Liberty. Both those teams were basically super teams from the get-go, and they were basically already written in to the league final at this rate. And, I would really, though, love to see, them, open up next year with, opening night in New York or in Vegas to kind of keep, this, not really a rivalry going, but, budding interest, because these are the 2 best teams in the league this past season. But, again, shout out to the Aces for back-to-back titles.
Yep. So you gave the Aces a shout-out at the end. I gave them a shout-out at the very beginning.
Beautiful.
So
I love it.
Yep, it worked. All right. So, mess around. Your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Echo. Can you hear me now?
Echo base, I've got something.
It's funny you mentioned Candace Parker and LeBron James. Difference is people like Candace Parker. They don't like LeBron James.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, then again, Candace Parker was the first ever pro athlete I interviewed when I was in college about not 8, 9, almost 10 years ago in 2014.
Is he still there? Okay, he's still there. All right. So, all right, we definitely want to thank everybody for watching, and you can catch another episode of Sports Minute next week right here on C2C. So with that, everybody have a fantastic night, and we will see you next week. Have a good night.